My name is Jennifer Marohasy. I'm a biologist and I'm a columnist for The Land, for Rural Press. There's some good media out there. Rural Press, they carry some good stories and they publish me every fortnight. I'm also a member of a small group called Myth and the Murray. It's a new group, and like you, or many of you, it's concerned about the need for more honest and open discussion about farming and the environment. There's nothing more basic to our physical well-being than food, and Australian farmers are amongst the most efficient and responsible food producers in the world. Yet they are increasingly demonised, and their businesses right now under extraordinary and unnecessary pressure. The pressure comes at one level from apparently arbitrary decisions made by this Commonwealth government. But the previous coalition government was no better. Decisions affecting agriculture increasingly reflect the values of an overweight metropolitan elite who have no empathy for or understanding of food production or food producers. It is fashionable to denigrate the very people who keep our supermarket shelves piled high with affordable milk, meat, fruit and vegetables. And so Get Up, some of you may have heard of Get Up, with lots of members who mostly sit down, dictate ever more impractical but fashionable policies to our political leaders. Apparently ignorant of the recent widespread flooding in the Murray-Darling, there is even a Get Up campaign claiming the region is on the verge of ecological catastrophe. But if Get Up campaigners got up and got out to the Murray-Darling, they would see that the basin has come roaring back into life since the drought broke. Soaking rains returned to the Murray-Darling last summer. But you may be surprised to learn that despite the rains, the abundance of wildlife and the full dams, many food producers along the Murray have a very limited water allocation. As Marohasy irrigator Debbie Buller recently wrote to me, and I quote, "It is inconceivable that in a year like this, when we know that there is no shortage of water, that traditional owners of irrigation entitlements on the Murray and Marohasy rivers and traditional owners of storage in the Southern Connected System do not have access to a fair water entitlement. Do not have access to a fair water entitlement this year." I'm still reading from Debbie's email. "More than anything else, after years of struggle through the recent crippling drought and followed up by a series of devastating floods, we need to be given the opportunity to plan confidently for some very productive seasons based on current inflows, snowpack depth and dam height. Instead," and that's the end of my quote from Debbie, "but instead Debbie and others are being encouraged to sell their water, sell their capacity to grow food. The grand plan may be to run all the water down to the lower lakes in South Australia, ostensibly for the environment. But it is not more fresh water that the natural environment of the terminal coastal lakes needs. It's a functioning estuary. During the recent drought, the obvious and natural solution for the drying lower lakes was to open the 7.6 kilometres of barrage holding back the Southern Ocean. But instead, politicians and environmentalists, in particular the Australian Conservation Foundation, used the drying lakes to campaign against upstream food producers, to blame the drought on upstream food producers who didn't have a water allocation. Yes, it is so fashionable to campaign against our most efficient food producers, our irrigators, to even blame them for the drought. But as a nation, we should be careful what we wish for. We live in a land of drought or flooding rains. In a land of drought or flooding rains. Our climate is not benign. Without infrastructure and industry, the climate will starve you or wash you away. It is dangerous to take all we currently have for granted. Fashionable, righteous campaigning has influenced government policies and undermined our productive base, our capacity to produce food. But these same campaigns won't, can't ever feed you. Fashion is the lowest form of ideology, and fashion can't feed a nation. Thank you.